Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how to make these, what my wife calls king and queen chairs. This one it's finished, but it's not 100% finished. I haven't sanded it yet, glued it, or made the seat. So if you would like for a video of me making the seat, go ahead and put a comment down below, and I will go ahead and make a video of making the seat. If you find this video informative or entertaining at all, go ahead and give me a subscribe, a like. I really appreciate it. Also, if you have any questions, comments, ways I could do it better, throw a comment down there. I'd love to read them, and I appreciate your input. Now, let's get into the video. These chairs are made out of poplar that I got from a local mill. I started by milling the boards down using my joiner and my planer to get the dimensions that I needed. I started with the front legs and just kept going from there. After getting the boards milled down and cut to the size that I wanted, and I marked them for the location of the mortises. Now this will get a mortise for a brace across the bottom and the apron of the chair across the top, along with I went ahead and cut a tenon for the armrest to set in. The use of a Mortiser would be a whole lot easier for this application, but it is possible with a drill press as long as you use a Forstner bit, and you will have to use chisel, mallet and chisel, for a lot of the clean out, which is very time consuming and really slows the project down, but it is possible. That's what I did. Chisel work does really slow a project down, but I also felt like, and it's kind of boring to watch in a video as well, but I also kind of felt like it was important to see the amount of chisel work. I did take a lot out, but just the fact of getting it started, I felt like it was important to see. I used my sled to cut the tenons with my table saw. Eventually, I ended up setting up and stop for it. I wish I did at the beginning to speed it up a little bit, but if your table saw does not take a dado blade, this is another thing that really slows the project down. Just single blade cuts, it's also time consuming. Next, I milled down some more boards for my back legs. Now these are a lot longer and go all the way up. I started with a 1.5 thick and by 6 inches wide. I marked them all for the design of the back I wanted, and I cut these freehand in the table saw. Now this can be dangerous if you do not take extra precaution. So I tried to make sure my fingers were, I didn't try, I made sure my fingers were out of the way, and I had my hearing protection on. This table saw is very loud. Now cutting these freehand, I also put my fence up for the one side that was actually straight. So it helped control that part of the cut, but the rest of it was in fact freehand. I use my marking knife, my marking gauge and my marking knife actually for every tenon and mortise that I cut. Now, I just took a pencil after I made that cut, after that mark, to darken in that groove that either your marking gauge or your marking knife cuts. That way it was easier to see. cut extra mortises in the back for the brace along the bottom of the seat, the apron, chair apron, and two mortises for the back in each leg. Also had to go back and cut a mortise for the armrest when it went in. I cut two pieces just a little bit wider than the actual backs and aprons and braces, so to make it X as a backrest. Just a little design that my wife wanted implemented, so I cut angles on these two pieces and set them down crossways in the chair, and I actually used my miter saw. As you can see right here, I'm doing the same thing for the brace that goes across the bottom to cut dados in those pieces that overlap. That way it looks good, clean line when they are finished. When I started cutting for the armrest, I ran out of scrap pieces that I had already milled down, so I had to get this board. It was actually too wide to cut with my miter saw, so I had to get my little skill saw out and finish cutting it. Went over to my wind joiner and jointed a smooth side on one side. Then I actually had to take it to my table saw. So my joiner is only 6 inches wide, and this board was a lot wider than 6 inches. So I took it to my table saw and cut it down, then brought it back and joined the flat side, or the bottom. That way I had a good straight edge. I had a good 90-degree angle for the side and the bottom. And then stuck it in the my planer, planed it down, got it good and smooth, just like I done everything. But that wind planer, it makes them real nice and real pretty. So when I got done with that, I took them back to my table saw. I have a Delta table saw, and cut it down to the size I need. At this point, I was ready to start cutting my tenons in my armrest. Now, tenons had to be on an angle, so instead of using my table saw, I actually decided just hand cut these. So I'm sitting there with a chisel and a mallet, and I'm hand making tenons in both armrests to get the correct angle and the correct length for the tenon. So after the tenon was cut, I made sure it was correct. I marked and cut for the mortise, and here I am putting the X in the back of the chair, and this chair was finished.